Hey everyone, it's Melanie with Design by Melanie, and I thought I would do a room tour for you today. So I'm actually filming this on my camera to try to make it a little bit steadier for you guys, so I hope this is okay. But I'm going to walk you through my whole room and kind of show you what I have, how it's organized, and just give you an overview. I'm not really going to go super deep into why I organize things the way I did, because you will see that if you watch my reorganization series. But anyways, let's just go right into it. I'm actually standing in my craft studio leaning against the door right now. So when I walk in, I look directly at my desk. I also have my storage cubes here, which you'll get a better view of those in a moment. And then my window, which I actually have open right now. And to the left, you will see my ginormous shelves, floor to ceiling, and a lot of my shelving, well actually all of that wood shelving came from IKEA, and I will link what I can in the description box below. A lot of these things I have had for quite some time though. Then over here is my teaching station, and then of course I've got my closet. So let me walk in just a little bit and we'll go through each section. There's my teaching station. I just walked in a little bit. I always keep two reusable bags hanging on the back of my door. That's for my Etsy shop orders. Every time I fill an order, I just put it in a bag, and then as I fill up the bags, I take them to the post office. Go to the post office about 3 times a week. And then I do have my foam board stored right behind the door to my craft studio. And that's what I use for the backdrop for some photos when I'm doing photos of my scrapbook layouts. I also have this little jelly bean soup like cut out of the United States that added the word love to and then a heart just where North Carolina is, since that is where we are. And then I have a temporary setup station for my computer. I move my computer in front of my teaching station when I'm teaching. This is what it looks like when I'm not teaching. There's my backdrop. I have a light there. I also set up my ring light, have my planner and everything, and then I do set out my teaching table and set up my whole station when I am teaching. And I teach every day pretty much, so I use this every day. But it's super easy just to fold down and kind of tuck back into the corner and be done with it, so it doesn't take up any space in my craft studio. Plus when it is up, it just blocks the door to the closet, which is not that big of a deal. We're not going to worry about the closet right now because it has not really changed any since I showed it to you last. But here's just a picture of my teaching station. That bag that's tucked in between my cabinet and my ottoman just has some snacks and things in there. And then this ottoman is where I have all that storage that I had. I think Jen is the one who said it was like the Mary Poppins carpet bag where things just kept coming out of it and out of it and out of it. Well, it's cleaned up now. It looks awesome. Let me move my planner off of it and then we will look inside of it. This is how it looks now. I've got the rest of my kits that I have already purchased, pre-made kits there to the left. I've got that bag of die cuts just sitting on top of the 6x6 pads, and then these bags that are laid flat on top of each other are all of my themed products, and they're super easy to get to. They're zipped up, and I've got all of them the right direction with the labels on them, so I can find everything exactly as I need to. You may also hear a little bit of traffic outside as we are in here because I've got my window open. So these are my shelves here, and these are from IKEA. I do have a like metal star hanging there. And it looks a little messy because I have this giant basket of things, but that's all the ephemera for all of the rest of the photos I need to print for 2018, and then the last few from 2017. So my goal is to get through that the next 2 months. So it is sitting there to remind me to do it. And I am actually making a ginormous dent in it. It's just sitting there for right now to kind of keep an eye out for it. I've got my clock back there. I've got my lamp for part of my teaching. I've got my Google Mini thing over there. I've got this antique sewing machine. Once this big giant pile of things is gone, I'm going to turn that antique sewing machine so you can really see it a little bit better. And then I have a little vase with a picture of Kalen's face on and his handprint that was for Mother's Day a couple years ago there. I've got some albums here. That top box here is just where I have my 2018 layouts stored, and that's because I don't have albums for those yet, but they're just tucked in there until I do purchase albums. And then I have a couple mini albums here to the right. Same thing, more albums down there. And then the very bottom shelf, it's kind of falling over. But that's Kaylin's art box to the left, and he just pulled out a big giant coloring book out of it yesterday that he and I were coloring, so that's why it's kind of tipped over. Okay, that's how it's supposed to look. I've got 2 boxes with patterns in them, and then the books that are in between those 2 boxes are just different sewing books and art books, like craft books and things like that I use. They're primarily sewing though, like applique and quilting and like sewing guides and things like that I use. So I kept those. Moving on to the middle section of the shelf, the very top, I have a few decorative things. That's a teddy bear and a little dog that Ernest gave to me when we were dating. I've got Kaylin's handprint, and then I've got a little plaque that says "You are loved." It says, "You are loved for the little girl you were, for the special woman you are, and the precious daughter you will always be." That was from my mom. And then I've got my 2 sewing machines up there. I've got my sewing machine and my Singer, and I do use those. I just keep them stored up there out of the way with the dust covers on them. Next we have the pocket card storage, and as you can see, it is still looking lovely, and I have been using it. Then we're moving on to the next section. I'm not going into detail on these because these are the ones that I did in my reorganization series, and you can see all of that as I did it. This is my stamp storage as well as my Cricut dies. This is kind of my machine shelf. So I've got papers and cards and things like that, and this bin, that's like my stationery that I write to my grandmother specifically with. Then I've got my Cricut, I've got my Cuttlebug, I've got a sticker maker. I actually have a microphone back there that you can see. That's what I used to use for my voiceovers. I don't use it anymore, but it is still there because you never know when we might need it. I've got my Life Print printer here, as well as my P-Touch Brother label maker. Next, I'm gonna have to get down a little. Next, we have the paper storage, and that photo box that you see under the 6x6 paper pad box is just the rest of my scraps that I could not fit in my scrap box. And I'll show you my scrap box here in just a minute. It's just the last little tiny bits of things. It's mostly small scraps, but I didn't want to get rid of it, so I've got it sitting there until I can fit it into my scrap storage. And then down here are just my files. I have 2. Okay. This last very tallest section of this shelf is kind of my Etsy section, and the air just popped on, so you may hear the air conditioner. But the top is just like my hole punches, and then my excess stuff. I've got some really old mason jars up there that I haven't decided what I'm going to do with, but I couldn't pass them up. I have extra old Stampin' Up! Stamps that are on their wooden blocks still that I actually have never used. My brother-in-law found them at Goodwill and purchased them for me. It was super sweet. Well, I have used a few of them, but the ones I've used are down in my stamp storage. But those are the ones I haven't used yet, but I've got them up there. And then the blue box and the photo box are just extra things. This shelf this has my diamond printing right there. You can see, diamond painting rather. I have just had my files, my Etsy orders filed in that little wire basket, and I go through that once a month and file all my receipts and all my supplies and all of that stuff. And then that fabric bin, those 2 fabric bins are just things that I have posted on. The top one's actually clothing that I have posted on Poshmark, and then the brown one is like photo props. And then the blue baskets are all things that are posted in my Etsy shop. Here's my printer. Fancy, I know. I have all my ink and everything to the right there. I recycle my ink, so I always have a Ziploc bag with the empty ink cartridges there ready for it to be filled and taken to the store to drop off to recycle. I have more Etsy things on the left. This is where I had my adhesives as well as my older photos. So those are photos that may be from, well, they're really photos pre-2003 because that's when I started to scrapbook. So anything older than 2003 is right there, and those are things that I eventually do want to scrapbook, but I also need to find more photos and maybe get some more stories for those photos that I do have. Then I have my adhesives. In this brown fabric box to the right, there's a couple different crafts on top just for Kaylin and I to do, and then there are sewn like baby blankets and things like that in that basket, and that's for when I do like craft shows or sell things a little bit more locally. I don't sell baby blankets really on my Etsy shop. I have before, but I don't really sell them on my Etsy shop currently. I might start doing that actually. I haven't decided. But I have 3 in there already made that are in that box that are just stored there just to kind of keep them out of the dust. let me just show you these drawers. This is super fancy. I've just got adhesives. I've got my heat gun, my refills, and my glue gun. Pretty much is all that is in here. And then I do have this like chipboard piece, and that's what I use for my glue gun. And then the bottom of this drawer is just, I've got foam sheets back here, adhesive foam sheets. I've got sticky dots. I've got other, I've got my tiny attacher refills, other glue dots, and other tapes as well. This is just one of those boxes. So I had like one extra box on my cube storage, and so I decided to put it over here and kind of use it this way instead, because I didn't want it to be like, I wanted it to be symmetrical, I guess. I will show you. All right, let's turn around and do the other side of my room now. Oh, down here, let me show you the very bottom. That's all Etsy stuff there, just supplies and my files and all of that. And then the very bottom, as well as things to the right tucked beside, that is all packaging that I used for my Etsy shop. So this office is my classroom. This is my Etsy shop office. I have 2 Etsy shops. And then this, of course, is the Design by Melody craft studio as well. So it's a multifunctional room. So let's turn around and do the other side of the room. Okay, again, we are standing in the far corner, but as you can see, there is the door. I've got my computer there. I've got one section of the shelving. I've got my desk and my Rascog cart, and then I have the other section of my shelving. Now lighting is going to kind of readjust because I've got the window open and it's got the very bright sunlight coming in. I did have my desk along that wall, and it really leaves the center of the room totally open, but I don't like facing the wall. I prefer to face the window. So I turned my desk kind of perpendicular to the wall. It kind of made it to where I can't as easily access these drawers, but I'll show you in a moment what I use my Rascog cart for, and that's really how I scrapbook. I really only get in the drawers if I'm looking for something specific or when I'm building my kit. I use my stash all the time, but I pretty much build a kit and then work within the kit. Then I put everything back in my stash, build another kit, and then work within the kit. And any kit that I make usually makes somewhere between 5 and 10 layouts per kit, so I'm only really getting into these drawers and going through all of my supplies about once every 3 weeks or so, depending on how frequently I'm crafting or scrapbooking. And a lot of times, like right now, I'm doing a lot of other craft projects, so I'm not necessarily like doing scrapbooking in particular. And when that happens, I go specifically to the drawer with the supply I need. So let's go this way first. Okay, so I've got up here are my little gallery wall of the different photos that I have. These are layouts that I have most recently finished, and I always display them up there. I've got this wire word art that says "You've got this," and then on this top shelf here I have the teal box is photos that are in ephemera that is ready to be scrapbooked. That is that pile of ephemera that I have over here behind me now. That is where that goes once I have the photos printed, and I keep it in there in chronological order. And then I also have my scrapbooking weekly chart that I created that I will link down below for you if you would like to see that. I created that when I was doing my February, I think it was February, let's see, goals, there we go. When I was doing my February goals and plans video, I shared that. And that's how, whenever I do scrapbook, I just mark it off that list so I know what I've scrapbooked and what I have left to scrapbook. I also have all of my black inks because that's primarily like 98% of the time what I stamp with. I really only stamp with colored inks when I'm either doing a background or when I'm making cards. Pretty much everything else is in some form of black or gray ink, and so I keep those in that little clear box with my little, I think it's like a 3" by 3" stamping clear block from Stampin' Up, and that's what I always use for my stamps unless it's just too big for it. Then I'll get our bigger block. This recipes box, this like vintage, this recipe box that you see right here is it's like a vintage recipe box. That's where I just keep extra white cardstock in it, and that's just what I use for notes or different things like that. I really don't throw away anything until it's truly trash. I reuse and utilize every single piece of anything. So you will see different pieces of things around my room. And that's just where I am utilizing every possible thing, because I do not like to throw things away. I'm just that person. I'm not a hoarder. Some probably would argue, but to me, hoarding is where you have stuff and you don't use it and it's just piled up everywhere. No, I use everything I have. I just don't like to throw things away. I have this little wire basket. This just has random things in it. Like it has our checkbook. It has some like bills that need to be paid. It's got a lighter. It's got a flash drive. It's got different random things like that that I might need to grab. And then I've got 3 little wire baskets here, or metal baskets. Those were actually from the Target dollar spot. They were in the fall section. As you can see, it's got like leaves on it and acorns. But I just thought they were really pretty and they worked with the decor in here. So I added them, and I have a bunch of pens and markers stacked in there. Oh, and that red tin box in the back just has a whole bunch of like foreign coins in it that I've collected over the years. This top shelf here, so my cubes are 3 by 2 in both sections. So I had 13 cubes, and there are 6 over here and 6 over there, and then the one on the shelf itself. And so these have a variety of things. So right here, we've got some notebooks in my address book. Then the second section has some journals. And those are actually empty, but I have them ready because I use these little journals specifically for so many different things, like for ideas, especially for like my Etsy shop. So they're just little lined journals. I use them for everything. So I have a stash of them here ready to go. And that's how So I have a stash there ready to go when I need them. These are just pads of papers and different notebooks. And again, most of these are actually halfway used, but I don't throw away anything, so I keep everything. I also have my notary journal there because I am a notary, so I have it ready to go. I have my extra zipper bags. I have a bunch of cardstock here. These are like to-do list, these 2 are, and then more cardstock. More cardstock, and then I have my sheet protectors. Those are the 8.5 by 11. More cardstock, more cardstock, more cardstock. These are ones I use for lots of different things on Etsy, which is why they're labeled by color. But that's pretty much just for my Etsy shop. Now, as you notice, and this is probably one of the biggest eyesores in my room, but again, I refuse to get rid of it. I have stacks of paper. So this is 8.5 by 11 printer paper, and this is 8.5 by 14, yes, printer paper. And then I've got some like notebook paper on the top, and then I have some just like random little pieces of cream cardstock over here. Those were left over from my office when my office closed from my full-time job, and we were told just to take it, you could donate it, you could keep it, you could do whatever you want. Well, I tried to donate it to a couple teachers, and they took some, but they didn't want all of it, especially this 8.5 by 11, by 14 inch paper. So I just keep it. And then anytime anybody needs it, I gave some to my neighbor. She's in college, so I gave her some. I also keep it and I use it. And then anytime like I get an email from Kaylin's teacher, I have paper ready, so I just take it in. And eventually these piles will be gone, but for now they're just sitting in here. Okay, moving down to the next section. These 4 cubes that I have here had drawers, and I took them out, and I'll show you where I've used those drawers in a second. I took the drawers out. Actually, I think there may have only been 2 drawers. Yes, I think 2 of them were empty and 2 of them had drawers. So I took the drawers out, and now I just use it as like a cubby station. So this one has these little baskets. These are from the dollar store with just paper clips and rubber bands. And this one has all of my bags that I use for my packaging from my Etsy shop. It's just easy to keep it here. This one has one of those wire baskets that I keep all my 4x6 clear boxes in, and this actually is from Michael's. And someone asked that I can't find it online, and I looked on Amazon to see if there was anything comparable. Those are boxes. They're wire boxes with like a plastic lining in it to keep it so nothing falls through the wire. Those were at Michael's, and they were right next to where they sell the 4x6 iris like photo boxes. These were right there with it. And they have little hooks that you can attach, and I used to have it hanging off my Rascog, but I actually changed it. But this is where I keep all my washi tape, and these are like washi books. And then this one has my Stedler fine liners, as well as just my like stack of index cards, and then my notary stamp. All right, then we've got ribbons, and you guys have seen these drawers whenever you saw my reorganization system. Let's see. And they are so packed that it's kind of difficult to pull out. So I'm working on utilizing some of this ribbon. And it's really not ideal, but I wanted to make sure that it fit into those drawers. So it does. I just have to make sure I use it, and I have been using it, especially if you saw my Valentine's card video. I used a lot of ribbon in that video. A lot of ribbon and then some twine as well that was in that drawer. Here's where I have cards, envelopes, inks, brads and flare, dimensional items, and projects, traveler's notebooks, and mini albums. So we will take a quick look into each one of these drawers, but you have already seen this in my reorganizational video. So let me just get an overview here. All right, cards. Here's the card drawer. We reorganized that together. The envelope drawer. And so these shelves, let me just tell you a little bit about it because you can really see how beat up they are. I had, I think, 3 of these cubes. Then my mom was at I think it was a Habitat resale or resale store, whatever it is. And she found all of the rest of the cubes, which may have been 9 or 10. I can't remember. I really can't remember how many I had versus how many she got me. They had them, and they were actually from a teacher's classroom that she had donated. And they were like $40 for like 10 cubes. So I was like, yes, yes, please, I will take those. Give me those. They were kind of beat up though. So we spent a lot of time cleaning them and fixing them. And I'll show you on the other section. We actually had to reinforce some of them with different screws and nails and things like that. So they're definitely worse for wear, but they work perfectly. But that's also why you see a lot of the divider trays come out, because they were so beat up. It's really kind of rough looking, but I've got them so full you can't even tell. All right, onto our inks. Inks, brads and flare, dimensional items, and we reorganized all of these together, so I'm not really going into these much at all. Then these are projects, mini albums, and traveler's notebooks. All right, let me show you my desk and Razcog now. Okay, so here is the desk. I've got my iPad as well as my next project that we're gonna do here soon. I've got my coffee. You can see the mailman outside putting the mail in the mail boxes. I got a Valentine's gift there that says, "You're stuck with me," with little cacti, I guess it's cacti on it. It's full of chocolate, so it's sitting there on my desk. And then I've got 2 more of those little white metal baskets that I keep tools and pens in. I've got my little clear drawers, which I'll show you in just a moment. I've got another lamp, and then I've got some tools in this cardboard box over here. Then I have my Razcog, and then the bottom of my desk. So this desk is my dad's old workbench. My dad passed away a couple years ago, and this is one of the things that he gave me. My dad was really into woodworking and building furniture and things like that. So I have a ton of furniture that he made. Actually, I have more than my sister's, which is it was not on purpose, but it is kind of funny. I just happened to, whenever he would ask me what I would want, I would say, "Oh, I want so and such," and he would make it. And it was kind of that way for a couple Christmases back to back, so I've got a lot of different things. And then he asked me if I wanted this desk, and I was like, yes, yes, I do. Yes, give me, because I want it. And it sits, you can lower it down, or you can make it higher. I can actually make it higher than it is and make it, right now it's kind of a counter height, I suppose, but you can make it more of a bar height if you really want. But I like to be able to have it counter height so I can either stand and craft at it or sit on my stool. And I'm actually sitting on my stool right now, but I will show you my stool in a second. That was actually a Christmas gift from Ernest. When I started working from home, I always stood and crafted for years, always. But when I started working from home, I was starting to craft more 4 hours at a time, 5 hours at a time, instead of just an hour or 2. So I was starting to, get tired of standing so much, and my lower back was starting to hurt because I would be leaning over. I wouldn't be leaning over much because it is counter height, but still, you are leaning over to some degree. So I started to get tired of that. So I asked for a shop stool that spins and lowers and raises. And so that's what I got for Christmas from him. All right. I keep my trimmers here. I've got a Caterpillar crop as well as a Fisker's, like right there, like sliding trimmer that doesn't work very good, but it is good when you're cutting page protectors. I've got my 2 boxes of page protectors, and then I've got my box for used up items, and that's where I put oh, I hope I wasn't covering the microphone. That's where I put things that I use up. Then down here, and this is working. See, as you can see, this is like real life here. My baskets are all crooked because I use them. I don't always push them back straight. But these are all my baskets. These are my themed ones over here. And then these are like product, let's see, manufacturer, pretty much. So I've got thanks because I had made a whole bunch of thank you cards, and I just have a bunch of thanks that are cut out with my Cricut. I've got Pretty Little Studio, LA Studio, October Afternoon, LA Studio Christmas, Simple Stories, October Afternoon. Oh, this is dusty. One Little Bird, LA Studio Plain Labels, LA Studio American Crafts, Heidi Swap, Jelly Bean Soup, Bella Boulevard, and My Mind's Eye. And these eventually will probably make it into my die cut drawer, but for now they are there. Then these over here are all the themed ones that you guys saw me organize when I was doing my reorganization series. Then I have these 2 drawers, and I do have the little pull on this one, but it came off. These are my thickers, and I do repackage them, as you can see, into these Ziploc bags, but I have them in here. And then these are all my word stickers. I have a ton, I know, a ton, but I use them. And they just sit right here on this shelf. And then if I need to, I can put my feet right there in the middle. So that is that. And then I have my Raskog. Oh, let me show you this first. Here is, and I do have just scraps papers sitting up here, and I always keep one roll of washi in case I need to use it to like hold something on. I've got labels, journaling, hearts and stars, little bits, chipboard, and embellishments. And then this is a video which I will link below where I put that all together. Okay. I have this section between the wall and my desk empty so I can move it, and under my desk is empty in case I need to move it and make it easy. I have my Raskog here. At the top is the kit that I am working with, as well as the photos. Got photos right here. But this is my working kit, and I always have a kit right here. So anytime I want to scrapbook, I just come in here, I grab some photos, and we go at it. Like, that's super simple. I'll turn on my lights, I turn on my camera, and we go. And I try to keep my iPad here unless I'm working with it downstairs or something like that. That way it's always ready. The second shelf there has my projects that are in process. So I'm getting ready to make some soaps for my Etsy shop. So I have my loofah there that my mom brought me, and then I have some soap molds there. And the same thing for the very bottom. That is like projects in process. So this shelf also has like my checklist, my photo checklist, as well as like a planner from last year. I have it sitting there. This is where I used to keep all of my planners, but I really use my planner so much now that I keep it out on the ottoman where I sit for teaching. And then, so both of these shelves ended up being projects in process, and that actually works out better, so I don't have a ton of stuff sitting out. This binder was sitting there till about an hour ago when I pulled it out and I started to do it, and then I figured before I make a mess in my scrap room again, let's get this video filmed. And my craft room always starts like this every morning. It starts out super clean because I clean it every night. That's kind of a goal I have. But then throughout the day, as projects go, it gets to be a disaster. And it's not like a disaster where there's stuff all over the floor, but the whole desk will be covered with stuff. So I really try to clean it up every night. That way the next morning I'm starting fresh, especially since I work in here every single day. I just need that fresh, like clear mind to start the day with. So that's how it started today. Here's a look at that stool. It's an Ironton shop stool. I think it was purchased from Harbor Freight. But it does go up and it goes down, and I think it holds up to like 350 pounds or something like that. I wanted something durable that I didn't have to worry about, like, if I lean over, is it going to compromise the stability of the chair or anything like that. And I like the fact that it has like a place for you to put your feet at the bottom. But it's not too big, like it's not too bulky. I could probably technically tuck it under the edge of my desk if I wanted to, if my Raskog cart wasn't there. So ideally I had in mind that I would be able to pull my rice cart out and move it over to like my computer station if I wanted. And I just move my computer out and sit it right in front of the ottoman when I want it and move it back. That's a temporary setup, but it's been working, so I haven't changed it. But I haven't really moved my rice cart. It just kind of sits there, but I use it all the time. Okay, so moving on to the final section of my desk. One thing I kind of wish I could change is the fact that the cords hang down. All right, so what I did is I just tucked those cords over there. It's not that big of a deal. It just looks better when the cords aren't hanging from my desk. I don't really truly need them to because the cord for my ring light is long enough to reach over there. All right, so this is the final section of my shelves. I've got an extra guillotine cutter and then a 18-inch ruler that are back there. I would like to hang my 18-inch ruler off of probably the edge of that cube, but I don't have any command hooks right now. So once I get more command hooks, I will do that. I have my big giant spools of twine up here on the top, as well as another fabric bin, and this is where I moved all of my scraps. And the reason I did that is because I wanted an open way to find them and grab from them. I could just go sort through, pick out something, take it over and use it, versus it being in closed boxes. It's not quite as pretty as it was when it was in a closed box, but it's super accessible, and it's not terrible because when you just look at it, when you just come in and look at it, it just looks like a fabric box with papers in it. Like, it doesn't look crazy. It's not like overflowing, although it is to the brim. Like, let's not play. This is why I have that other box of overflow scraps in it, because I needed a place to put them. And then I do have my diffuser over there. That's an oil diffuser that I got for Christmas, and I do turn it on all the time. So I have that there. Okay. As you can see, we have 6 cubes here, 2 wide, 3 tall. Starting right here on this section are our specialty papers. I do have them labeled, but they're not really labeled correctly. So this one is not 12 by 12 cardstock. This is specialty paper, so I have like corrugated papers, and I do have white cardstock in here, but it's like just that section. I have a couple like odd size page protectors. Here I have a big bin of all different kinds of page protectors. These are all different branded ones, things that I can cut apart and use for different things. Then I have, this says paper pads. It is not paper pads. I need to take these off and relabel them, or just take them off in general. That's probably what I should do. These are all different colored 12 by 12 cardstocks, and these are pretty much either 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 12. I try to keep the scraps in here. I try not to keep scraps in here. This is Kaylin's baby album that is not even made, but I've got the album. This is another album that I thought about putting like his artwork in. It's a Crayola one. Isn't it cute? But I haven't gotten around to that, so it's just there. This is Pretty Little Studio Supplies. This is Ellie Studio Supplies. This is Ellie Studio Holiday. This is October Afternoon. And then this is, oh yes, Ellie Studio like embellishments. So that's how that is stored. Then I've got these clear boxes. And these, so let me give you the little rundown of what these are. These fit absolutely perfectly in these little cubes. Perfectly. Look. And I've got 2 of them in each section. But I can't, let me just tell you, I can't tell you how to get these because they don't make them anymore. So these were from the Disney store, as you can see. And Kaylin was super into the die-cast cars, not the figurines, but the ones you could actually like move. The die-cast cars and the die-cast planes. And so when he was basically between the age of 2 and 7, we bought every single one of them that came out, like every single one of them. And that's why I have so many of these. And I've got these all over the house. Like that little clear bin that my inks were in, that's a die-cast car one. And if you just look at them closely, they all say Disney Store on them. You just got to find it. Usually I turn them so you can't see them. That one's Fire and Rescue. So anyways, they used to be sold, and it would be like a black tray. It'd be mounted on there, and then this would be on the top, and it would be like a display case. But we always took them out because he played with them. It wasn't like a display thing for us. It was something he played with because they were working cars. And so I kept all the boxes because I was like, these are really awesome, super sturdy boxes. Well, now if you go purchase those same cars, they come with like a plastic cover. They don't come with like a softer plastic cover. They don't come with these really hard, super durable covers. So you can't purchase these anymore, but they're so perfect. And this is just what I always use. I always keep everything. This is so bad again. I try to reuse and recycle anything I possibly can. If I can't use it or recycle it, then I get rid of it. Like, I won't hold on to it. But I try my hardest to reuse and recycle things, just packaging and other things like that. Anything that I can find to use, then I will. So let's go ahead and show you what's in these. These are my re-inkers by Misters. I've got a couple puffy pinks in here, a couple ink daubers that are just in here. I also like these because if that were to spill, it won't dye my shelf. It'll just go into the box. This one has all of my sequins. I've got these little they're like kind of like pill packs. And then I had a whole bunch of sequins that I had gotten in these little containers. And then a few these are Spiegelmom, I believe. Yeah, Spiegelmom. And then these were just from like Walmart, which stars, or maybe Dollar Store actually. And then they just fit in these little containers. These are all of my embossings, as you can see. These are all of my glitters, and that's more paint back there. That's like stickles and things like that. And my Nuvo drops were in the top one. And then I've got all of my glitters in here. And again, these are perfect because if that were to spill, it won't be everywhere. It'll be contained in this clear box. So, okay, I did just want to show you real quick the back of my iPad mount. I had someone ask me, and I did respond to her comment. Gosh, I need to dust. There's a couple places I hadn't even thought about dusting. This is a Tri-1 iPad mount, and I've had this for a couple years, but basically it just clamps around the edge of the desk. And so she was telling me that her iPad, her like mount, she has to stabilize because it's too heavy and it'll tip over. Well, my best recommendation would be to get one that you can clip onto the edge of something, because it doesn't really matter how heavy the iPad is. These things, there's a couple of these that I can move. This keeps it stabilized so it doesn't droop, and then this keeps it to where it doesn't tip. So I would suggest finding something that's going to clamp, and it's just got the as you twist this, it tightens. So I just wanted to kind of show you the back side of that. Okay, let's move into these drawers. Again, you have already seen all of these drawers in the reorganization, but let me just show you what they look like overall. These are word stickers in little bits. Still looks the same with my little dividers. Oh, and these dividers are just like index dividers that you can purchase from the office supply store. Ernest is vacuuming downstairs. Sorry if you hear that. Wood veneer and acrylics and cork. And then I've got all my extra homemade enamel dots in here as well. Oh, and again, packaging. These boxes are the boxes that my Starbucks, I think these are the Been There. Yeah, Been There series cups came in. So I just reuse packaging. These were super sturdy boxes. Anytime I can get a super sturdy packaging, I try to reuse it. All right, labels and tags. Still looks the same. Tools. Oh, and I added I don't remember if I added the rulers when I was on camera or not, but I added the rulers in there. Alphas, and this is where I can move some of these alphas into here. It's also kind of nice that this is open, so when I'm sitting here, I can just sort through both of those. Doilies. This is one of those, like, these are really the ones. You can see how beat up they are. These are really the ones that came from that resale store. Then we've got layers and tissue papers. Then on this side, punches and cutting tools. Still looks the same. Stamps and stencils. Chipboard. Still looks the same. Die cuts. And stickers and rub-ons. All of that still looks the same. I have been using this stuff, so it's definitely been, I've been in and out of these drawers. It's even gotten to the point though that this one and then the other one where the ribbon is, they just don't close all the way. That's okay though, because I got them so inexpensive. And this is where we had to like reinforce some of them with nails and extra screws and things. And some of them are splitting, I know, but without these nails, they don't stay in, they just tip over. So it's worth it having that in there. I just don't worry about it. It's useful. So that is my entire craft room. I hope you guys have liked seeing this. I hope it gives you a couple maybe reorganization ideas, kind of shows you how I work. It gives you a good idea of how I scrapbook, and also just kind of my creative mindset and thoughts. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back tomorrow with something new. Bye.